Guys, welcome to Bitcoin Localized podcast where we discuss recent events in Bitcoin and crypto space. So, this is a pilot episode, the first step in a long, exciting adventure into the unknown. So, this starts to feel like a Star Wars vibe. So, my co host is Andy, local mining CEO, the Captain Kirk of Loca. So, would you grace us with a welcome speech on this special pilot, Andy?
Captain's Lock, day one.
Day one.
Welcome guys. This is our first podcast, so probably there's been a lag here and there, but we're gonna do our best. It's about discussing about everything about Bitcoin mining, and I think in general, in Bitcoin in like basically in general. Um, we've been in Bitcoin mining since 2017, and we've been witnessing a lot of events, the bull run, the bear market, and then all the capitulation, and then all the bloom of DeFi and everything in between. So this is kind of like the first time. This is the first channel that or the first space that I will be focusedly talking about Bitcoin because mostly in my Twitter account or Instagram, whatever, I don't really usually talk about Bitcoin. I just hold it since 2014. So yeah, let's get it on.
Sure, sure. So, this pilot deserves a special topic. And I think the Willow quantum computer news is perfect. So, on the day it was first tweeted by Sundar Pichai, Bitcoin price dropped 3.5%. Is this related or merely a coincidence? Well, nobody knows. But I think the main theme from the Bitcoin as well as the crypto community is concern whether Willow and future quantum computer can pose a threat against Bitcoin's encryption. So maybe we can start with some insights, Andy, about Bitcoin miners. So does the recent quantum computer development affects Bitcoin miners in any way?
Well, I think let's take a step back. What is actually the quantum computer is? So it's very interesting because quantum computer at some point actually proves that we have we are living in multiverse because the way the quantum computing works is like the classical computing is just using one and zero and it only lives in this realm in this world, but quantum computing basically the if we break down into layman terms in a like in a uh, Marvel uh,
Universe.
vocabulary, right? So like basically, when you do quantum computation, you break down your uh, problem into parallel world. That's why you have like super strong power to solve your computation because like for example you do like let's say you want to solve some equation and then you just here you put it in the classical computing you put it in the one and zero bits and then it basically calculates in you can do in parallel but that will be limited by the physical capability of the chip itself. While in quantum computing, theoretically, there's other unlimited amount of your chip lives in other multiverse that is actually solving your equation at the same time. So that's kind of like the theory of quantum computing. But the problem is to make this happen, we're using the theory of quantum entanglement, right? So because if if there's the if the matter here in this universe somehow affect the matters on the other universe. That's why you use that entanglement to initiate the equation from the other multiverse. That's why you get the quantum computation, right? So the Willow computer is somehow in the verge of solving that, but it's still not yet there. But there's actually the proof. It's just like it's still like kind of like in the lab. It's not in a real application world yet. So that's like how I see the quantum computing. If you want to read about this more, I think you should. Some of the book that is really interesting about this is the Beginning of Infinity by David Deutsch. That's actually explains about this theory that I somehow believe. Some people don't, but I think uh, recently more people starting to understand and realize this is actually what happened. Like there's the actual multiverse. So okay,
Yeah, yeah.
back to okay Bitcoin mining. Okay, so the way Bitcoin mining, I think let's go back to the how the private key of Bitcoin address works. It's using like elliptical curve of cryptography. It's basically, um, I think to describe it is if you create an address of uh, Bitcoin and then you have the private key, right? So to generate private key from private key, so to generate the private key from the public address, it's like, I think the analogy is like when you crack an egg and then you make an omelette, and then the you basically you turn the liquid state of the egg into solid state. It's kind of like one way, right? And then you have your like basically how that's how you create a private key. This is one way. You cannot turn back the algorithm cannot turn back the uh, omelette into the liquid egg, right? That's kind of like the analogy. But quantum computer, if it reaches at certain point, I think the analogy can break down this molecule, a single molecule of the solid state of the omelette and break it down and return back into liquid. That's kind of like the roughly analogy. That's why then some people are concerned about what happened if the computers just released in the wild and then suddenly you get exposed. You have the public key for every Bitcoin address, and then you can extract the private key, and then you can just basically steal away all the Bitcoin inside the wallet. But I think it still needs several years away. I'm not saying that it's not gonna happen, but it still needs several years away because I don't see there's two sides of the people who are basically the opinion of this. The first one is okay, it's done, Bitcoin is done, like the skeptical people, and then the other, like the probably most of the Marxists, no, it's gonna happen. It's gonna take like decades or probably hundreds of years away. But for me, I think it's gonna happen in the like probably 5 in 10 years. We can break down that if we're not upgrading the algorithm of Bitcoin itself, and it's upgradable, and people are actually working on it now.
Sure, sure. So what I'm getting is that for now, I think the current moment there's nothing affecting Bitcoin miners on how they operate and how they choose their investments and how they do strategic thinking in operations. The quantum computer is not affecting that decisions at all.
No, I don't think no, but I think the people who actually the Bitcoin builders, like people who contribute actively into the Bitcoin algorithm, is now I think it's already started several years ago when we start people are start talking about quantum computing, and then by this event it actually accelerates these activities, like because actually we already have like quantum proof quantum proof algorithm that cannot be break by quantum computer. It's already there, but it's not implemented yet, and it is possible to be implemented, and I think it's going to be implemented at some point.
Oh, so the Bitcoin developers are currently working on how to upgrade Bitcoin's encryption to to be resistant of the quantum attacks currently
Yeah,
now.
yeah, yes,
Ah,
yes.
okay, okay. That's nice to know because, like, from what I understand, there when we talk about quantum computers, there are so many layers that we need to understand to get a
Mm,
comprehensive understanding. Like, for example, like differentiating it between quantum computer and supercomputer, like
um,
the one you just explained, how the supercomputer system is one and zero. So in order to gain the more power, you need to stack up more CPUs, more
yep,
processor. Yeah, that's why you see a super big data room containing all the CPUs and processor, and you just add it up one by one, if you want to add up the power. Yeah, yeah,
yep.
but quantum
Yeah, you're
computer,
yeah.
you just put it one, and then you put on, like, you add some entanglement, very
It's not
microscopic atom
it's not
level.
it's not just
Yeah,
it's
it's
I
very,
think it's very complicated.
yeah. It's oversimplifying. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, noted, noted. So, but can you walk us through about how this affects Loka as well? So, does is Loka doing anything to adjust itself to quantum computing, in particular mining pools or the mining pool aggregators in Loka now?
Okay, so I think we should take a step back and how mining pool actually works. So the how okay how Bitcoin mining works is basically to solve some random equation. You need to solve some problem, and then uh, everyone who participate in Bitcoin mining will try to solve this problem, and then whoever who solved this problem at the first time, like basically it's kind of like lottery, and then every 10 minutes you will get the we call it Coinbase reward. It's basically it's a Bitcoin reward from the network that minted a new supply minted. It's now after the last halving is about is 3.125 Bitcoin every 10 minutes given to that particular miners who solve that equation, and then that's basically it's a lottery. But but because back in the days when we started mining Bitcoin, like 2011, like when the first time Bitcoin started, there's like a only bunch of people who actually do mine Bitcoin. So it's kind of like lottery, but like only small amount of people, and then it's getting bigger and then bigger, and then it's now like I think it's around 800 exahash right now. At some point, I cannot remember the exact amount, but that's like huge economy runs Bitcoin. And then it doesn't make any sense now if you have like 1 million of people, and then you were expecting to get the lottery every 10 minutes. Like the possibility statistically is probably like 0.000 something percent to get that Coinbase reward. So the mining pool is essentially you um, pool like a bunch of miners pool their hash rates into one big pool, and then you join the network as one, and then whenever the Coinbase reward it increase your chance to win the lottery, right? So and then whenever the if you if this pool win the reward, and then you basically, as the mining pool, you distributed this reward pro rata to whoever who joined the pool. So if your if your hash rate contribution is about 50% of the total pool, and then in that exact moment, in that 10 minutes, the the you get the Coinbase reward. You basically get the half of this point 3.125 reward. So that's how mining pool works. So to answer your question, basically it doesn't really matter about the mining pool because what will affect will be affected from the quantum computer is that how the Bitcoin miners work. If they're using quantum computer, at some point they can you can mine Bitcoin with quantum computing, and then basically it's just increase the total hash rate, but the percentage of distribution is gonna be the same because just only 3.125 Bitcoin that will be distributed every 10 minutes. It's not going to, if you like, you have a better computer, the network's not going to give like more Bitcoin. And yeah, I think that's probably answer your question.
So yeah, the idea of having a quantum computer that is specifically designed in its algos to only mine Bitcoin, I think that would change the whole landscape of the competition, the mining. I mean, if one successfully does it, then all the other miners have no choice to keep up to the game.
Yep.
And I don't think quantum computer is cheap. It's very expensive. Like, so if one party successfully mines Bitcoin with quantum, how does that affects the other miner? I think the other miner would just be forced. If they can't use quantum, then they're out of the competition. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think that's always the game, right? It's it reaches so there's several so how the Bitcoin mining economy works is like it follows the equilibrium. So basically, because the hardware to mine is getting more expensive at some point, but it the hash rate per dollar is getting cheaper. It means that with the same amount of dollar, you can have bigger amount of hash rate computing power, and that follows the Moore's law. Like Moore's law is like I think it says that every 18 months you get double of computing power. So that's gonna be like always. That's kind of like the pattern from the last few decades. And at some point, quantum computing is there. It's basically like it also follows that because it's exponentially increasing. Right? It also and how the network Bitcoin network reacts is by basically every 2 weeks the difficulty increases based on the amount of hash rate from the last 2 weeks. So Bitcoin network adapts about the amount of hash rate. So basically, it more hash rate, it's getting more difficult to solve the equation. And at some point, and someone is gonna use quantum computer, and then the difficulty will be also alright. Like doesn't on that part, it actually doesn't really matter. I think the threat is mostly on the and then someone buys the quantum computer, it's cheaply available to the public at some point, for example, or it is enough economically will be feasible for Bitcoin miners to buy and just start mining Bitcoin. But again, the network only pays that amount of Bitcoin. It's not. So you either need to calculate whether the quantum computer is cheap enough to buy, and then like it's probably yes, because when we see the price of Bitcoin, at some point it's gonna like $1 million per Bitcoin, and then at some point it's gonna be feasible enough to just buy quantum computer and start mining Bitcoin, and then every Bitcoin miners will use quantum computers to mine Bitcoin, and it doesn't really matter actually. I think the only threat is on the algo on the public key and private key basically. So on the Bitcoin mining part, it's fine.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter because I think
Yeah.
to analyze it from a bigger perspective, if if actually an entity who owns a fully workable Bitcoin mining decides not Bitcoin mining, a fully workable quantum computer decides to crack a code on Bitcoin or other crypto, I think the first point of attack wouldn't be mining pools. I think it would be
Yep.
more like the private keys
Yep.
and the transactions. I think that's the main their main point of uh,
Yep.
interest.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think the analogy would be like we can see. Do you did you witness the Millennium Bug? I mean, the I cannot remember the name, the actual name. When
The
the bird
year 2000,
transition.
right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
What is
yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah,
90, 99K to what is
yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah. Y2K or
Y2K
is
bug.
it? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Y2K. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, so it's like if you remember, I'm probably old enough to remember the hype. So they're like people are talking about that, and then like okay, there's gonna be something, the world's gonna collapse, all the airlines gonna be broken and as such because our computer system doesn't really compatible with a four-digit number of a year, right? So that's kind of like what happened. And then because when people actually like the hype is happening, and then people are talking about that, researcher, people who activists, everyone, developers, actually working on that on the behind the screen. And then when the Y2K happened, it's people just say, "Oh, nothing happened, nothing happened," right? It's just like aggregated, you're overestimating the problem, some kind of stuff. But what actually happened is that people actually doing that to prevent, actually like do stuff that make everything compatible in the background. Just like regular people doesn't really understand
Yeah,
about that, right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
this is again like what happened when the time the computing quantum computer is out of to the public. There's now people are doing whatever it takes to make the threat of quantum computer is not there anymore.
Yeah, maybe that's what's caused Bitcoin's price to bounce up back again because the market knows that behind the scenes the devs are working on it, so no need to worry, right? But you know
Yeah,
what? In the year 2000, something did crash, Andy,
what was
or
that?
or the dot com crash. the
Definitely.
dot com crash.
Yeah, it happens.
Something
I
did
mean,
crash.
yeah,
I'm
it's
just
almost
joking.
never right. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so like, um, can you give us like, so with this all conditions, I get the sense that you're not too bothered with quantum computer, and your stance is that um, it will be resolved as it should be, and we have the appropriate tools, appropriate algos to deal with the quantum attacks. So everything will stay on course and will be good. Bitcoin is still untouchable. Is that it?
Yeah, I mean, there's obvious threat, and I would say if I mean, I also raise this awareness internally to the like most of like probably Bitcoin maxi that there's a camp of Bitcoin that thinks that it's not. I mean, you don't. It the algo should be set in stone, but let's stop adding something, stop adding updates. But I'm not agree. I don't agree with that. Like every entities, every civilization, the I think um, the way to advance our civilization is by having the mindset that everything needs to change, everything is adapt. So that's kind of like the mindset that I have, and um, it's kind of like probably in the middle. I see that if we don't do anything, if just don't update the algo, and it's not gonna be um, you you cannot defend yourself to the quantum attack. But if you upgrade the algo fast enough, because there's still time, and then it's gonna be okay. But and I think most of the people is gonna be on that camp, on the middle camp. It's just the silent majority. All the loud voice is coming from the skeptic ones, and also the overly optimistic one. So yeah,
Sure, sure, sure. Well, there you have it, guys. I think uh, my takeaway on this podcast would be whack me. We're all going to make it in the term of quantum computing. And also, Bitcoin is strong. I think that's my key takeaway. Okay, so that's the first episode of Bitcoin localized. Well, do you have an X or Telegram? So I'll
yeah,
put, yeah,
yeah,
you have, right? So I'll put
yes,
Lucas, Andy's, and my bio and my link, Telegram, social media links in the description. You guys should ping us. So we would love to connect with you. And if you like this pilot, well, stay tuned for the next week's episode. Well, if you don't like this pilot, you should still stay tuned. You should still
yeah,
join us next week. You'll
yeah,
enjoy this eventually.
yep, yeah.
Okay.
It's been like the first podcast very heavy subject, so probably yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
probably people will like it, or probably it's not. It's not for me. But I think we just try. I think we'll find like basically like it's interesting for me. It's very interesting to talk about quantum computing and Bitcoin especially.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
any last words, Andy?
No, just not your not your key, not your coin.
Okay. Okay. So until next time, stack Bitcoin, be localized. Bye.
Okay, bye.